Miller? Here. Counselor Foxell?
Here.
President Trani?
Here.
Counselor Leon?
Here.
Mayor Thomas? Here. There is a quorum.
Okay, could I have a motion to accept the meetings of January 12, 2015?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion or corrections? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Joint Council School Board meeting minutes. Could I have a motion to accept those?
Moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any corrections or additions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Comments from citizens present. If there's anyone in here who would like to speak, please sign the telephone that's right. You must be first.
I'm first. Well, I'm here to address council on the 1128 South Street on that special exemption and variance to our ordinance, and ask council to take a position against that. I think all of you understand what it's all about. I don't have to sit here and make a big speech, but I think it's important to the neighborhood, important to everybody around there to have this special exemption and variance challenged by council. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Corbett.
Cynthia Fry.
Good evening. I'm just here to ask questions on the fire service merger. Up until last week, I really, as a citizen, did not know anything about it. So I have a lot of questions. First of all, is our fire department broken as it stands? Can any one of you answer that question?
At this point, there is no dialogue between council.
Okay.
You express
Well,
your
I'm
thoughts.
sorry, I'm new to this
That's
process,
fine,
so
that's
these
fine.
are my thoughts and these are my questions because there's no answers out there.
And we are writing these down, so we
Second
will
of
get
all,
back to you.
cutting down to 2 companies or 2 stations in one borough. What's the response time to the west side of this town? What happens when there's a fire at our Pottsgrove Manor Historical Building? What's the response time to that? What's the response time to one of our school districts, our school, elementary schools? Can anybody answer that question? Has anybody actually thoroughly sat down and looked at all that? My other question is, what is this going to save me as a taxpayer? Is it going to save me a lot of money? Is it going to cost me money by my insurance rates going higher because there's not enough manpower? You think you can call in Sanatoga or West End? How long till we have to pay them for their services because we can't provide for our own borough? Where's the money going that you're supposedly going to save by cutting down our fire services? Is somebody getting a bonus check at the end of the quarter? Whose pockets are being padded? Mine's not. So hopefully I would wish that you would all take into consideration what you are doing to this borough. You were elected to make this town prosper. Instead, it's done nothing but created animosity and a lot of anger and hatred between people. These brotherhood of fire department individuals, they stick together. They're in our schools. They're teaching our children fire safety. They're out there helping the community. Last year there was a employee that I work with who was on hard times. I called the station and said, hey, do you think you could send a fire truck out with a Santa Claus to surprise these children and make them happy? These guys went above and beyond and went out and purchased gifts for these children. These guys support themselves to the best of their ability with the help of their wives. There's 3-4 generations in this company, and you want to take it away for what? So somebody can say that you won? We put you in those seats that you're in, not for you to destroy this town, but to make it better. So I hope you think before you do what you're about to do and create more problems with this town. This town is riddled with nothing but drugs and violence. And you're going to take away one good thing that we have? Think about it.
Okay, at 7:30, we have a public hearing that we will be going to on the zoning ordinance amendment. Till then, Mayor's report.
On Saturday, there was a memorial service for Mr. Newsfell Maribel at the event of his passing. And that's really going to be what I'm going to talk about today. And I feel very passionate to discuss this, especially in light of some of the comments that just were made about the disunity and hatred that is perceived and sometimes real, not only here, but in many places. Mr. Maribel, in essence, represented a medium ground, a facilitation between what people perceive, what the law is, and the better resolution. I think in everything that we're discussing tonight, whether it's the fire service, whether it's the higher ground, the Higher Dimension International Worship Center and their proposal and what they're trying to do, whatever we're discussing on this agenda, there's a better resolution that all of us have a charge with. Now, tonight we have a situation where I could be called in, I guess, to break ties. Is that true? Possible. So it's not that we don't think about what we're doing up here, but we're charged not always to do what's popular, but to do what's best in the long run. Also, Mr. Maribel was very influential in working with the Human Relations Commission. I believe that in recent years, the effectivity and the public persona and relationship with the community and the Human Relations Commission per se has taken a dwindled affect. So what is the reason that I would bring that comment up? With Mr. Newstell's passing and others who have set very firm, very strong, very passionate foundations in everything that they've done, what they've taken with them is a mantle. But what remains in the earth is a mandate. There's still a mandate for someone to facilitate between issues of hatred and violence and other inequities that exist and grow with each given day. So we can each look within ourselves and say, does it always take one person to have to be that ambassador for the issue? But are we all really ambassadors in these type of issues? I believe that we are. I believe that the better resolution comes when everybody pulls back from their own, privatized view of something and takes a more comprehensive view and considers the long term versus the short term. I believe that's some of the driver behind Mr. Maribel's activities. He wasn't always in a comfortable position. He wasn't always looked upon as doing anything that mattered. But when it's your passion and you're pursuing it, it matters to the hilt. But I would say to him that he pursued what he felt mattered. It left an impact. And his name is imprinted on many different organizations throughout the state and throughout the county and even at the federal level. So I'm just saying this because there's always a potential for better. There's always a potential to look at something a little differently. There's always a potential to go back. Happened to be coming right in here. I walked through a conversation, didn't say anything. Perceived as rude. I went back and apologized. Did it make a difference? Maybe not. Did I do my part? Absolutely. So there's a part for the council to play up here. And yes, we do have a responsibility to the safety of this town. And we have a fire chief who has the credentials, the background, the experience over decades to be a facilitator, just like Mr. Maribel was in the issue of human rights and civil rights, to be a facilitator in this issue and help the council look forward and make the best decision. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Trennan. I'll let council know that PAID, Pottstown Area Industrial Development, will be spearheading the borough's economic strategic plan this year. If you recall, or some of you may recall, the plan was last updated in 2008. It's time to redo it, and PAID has decided to take the mantle and go out for the RFP and facilitate the process. So more to come on that. In regard to the report on the disparate impact of rental properties that was delivered last month by the Better Cities LLC, staff is reviewing the information that we received. I want to let council know that we are in the process of receiving some sample ordinances, so there'll be more to come on recommendations on that topic as well. In regard to the borough's public works facility, I want to touch on a couple of points. I believe it's item 13L on this evening's agenda, the letter of appreciation for the authority. I want to clarify that some of you may recall that it was reported in the media that the expenditure that the authority authorized, the $2 million for the facility, would be shared by the townships. That would be the Pottsgroves. That is incorrect. That is cost that will not be levied against the townships. It is cost that will come from the authority's capital reserves on the borough side. The expenditure itself will not be a $2 million payment up front. It will be a spread over the 10-year life of the actual loan for the property. It'll be used to offset the debt service in our general fund. Interestingly, since it's going to be spread out over the 10 years, the actual expenditure comes in around $1.7 million because of the rising cost of money. Regarding the facility itself, the contract has been finalized with Studner. Mr. Garner is currently doing a final review on it. We should have it signed within the week. We are still reviewing value engineering costs, cost savings for the borough. Studner, so far we have been able to identify some cost savings. We're not done with the process yet. And it looks like construction on the building will be underway around or about March the 15th. Last but not least, I want to remind council that Borough Hall will be closed next Monday in honor of President's Day.
Okay, any questions for Borough Manager? Okay, subcommittee reports, Mr. Williams for Finance and Administration.
Okay. We had some additional action this past Wednesday at the Finance and Administration meeting. Two presentations given to us, one concerning Alerta. That's a tool that we might adopt that could make it easier for businesses to move into this area. There's no action taken. I know it's been done in Lower Pottsgrove and other places throughout the county. And at this point, the committee is recommending that we go ahead and study it to see if it's an advantage to our borough. Second, we had some banking people in to talk to us about better use of our funds that are in the reserve to see if we can get a better return on investments. Borough finances are in good shape. We're moving forward. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Williams? Safety, Vice President Gary.
Thank you. The Safety Committee met immediately prior to this meeting. I came in late. There were representatives from the Phillies Fire Company essentially expressing their dissatisfaction and displeasure with the way the fire consolidation talks have proceeded. I don't know. Ryan and Cheryl were there earlier. Is there anything you want to add to that?
They basically just reiterate what they had stated. That's it.
Okay, any other questions? Committee reports, library, Mr. Green.
Thank you, Mr. President. April at the library is Family Reading Month. There's an emphasis on various aspects of the family, but in the children's area, which is probably one of our busiest areas, there's a focus on Monday evenings and Monday afternoons for storytelling. Nighttime storytelling at 6:30 p.m. On Mondays during the month of April. And on the third Saturday in April, we have Dart Dogs are readers too, so we even include family pets, dogs, and so on coming to the library to help the kids learn to read and enjoy the reading experience there. I also want to indicate that we were a little bit pressed last time I gave this presentation to the group. We did get our $300,000 match for the improvements in the library structure itself to make it handicapped accessible. The one thing that I didn't add to that was part of that includes some security features which are consistent with the efforts of the local police to put cameras in the downtown and to try to keep security as first and foremost. So those improvements that we're expecting from the monies that we've gotten, which have been matched by the state, will include the library as well. There will be some security cameras posted on those buildings to help augment what the town itself is trying to do in the downtown. And then lastly, I'd like to indicate that we are always looking for funding there. Any of you who have bequests or looking for some place to donate some dollars or know someone who's interested in helping reading and access to internet through the library, please consider the library as one of the recipients of any bequests or donations. And our next fundraiser will be April 17th, that's a Friday night, 7 o'clock at the library. Since it's in the library, there's going to be limited capacity, so if you have been to see Charlie Zahn, who is a Celtic musician, who's been to the library several times before to packed audiences, and the Manatawny Distilleries, there will be a combined activity on April 17th, a Friday night at 7 o'clock at the library, featuring Charlie Zahn providing entertainment, and Manatawny Distilleries giving some samplings of their distilled products. So that's a fundraiser for the library, and the tickets will be on sale. More information will be available later, but we'd like to have as much support from the community as we can. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Green? Human relations, anything there? Benita, Sheila.
Yes, I just want to reiterate that we hope you guys are okay with Bert Myers being the new board member. He has spent a month on the board already and has been very helpful. We know his term was very short. Also, I was out on Saturday to meet the new Beverly's Bakery owners. They're very excited to be here in town. We're very excited that it has changed over with very limited time of an empty building. And in doing that, I was walking around with very many businesses, and I'm happy to report that they are very grateful to see the police out in force. They feel much more comfortable. They've been talking actively to them. They were talking about cameras as we continue as PDETA to work with them in cameras and getting some of the crime rates down in the downtown. So it was a good Saturday. We heard some good feedback.
How are the trash big bellies working out?
They're doing well on the one side. I wanted to talk to Erica. Are they going to go on the other side?
Oh, yeah, they're just not finished installing them yet.
Okay, that was just a question that somebody had, and I wasn't 100% sure. But as of now, they look much better, and the blowing and the picking is not happening as much, so definitely a good thing.
Cobb, you have minutes, and Councilor Culp is not here, so you have minutes at your desk. EAC, Mr. Durr. Okay, regional planning. It's continuing with the update of our comp plan. Anything you want to do with add to it? Because there's two things of significance. One is going to be the possible project there at Moyer and 100 for the affordable housing, and also over there at the old airport in New Hanover. Evidently, there's 700 homes slated for over there, so that's in the works. The new developers coming forward, so that's something that will probably close down Swamp Pike and won't be able to use it. So. All right, Blighted, Mr. Wien.
Our next meeting is February 18th.
All right, we've got a couple minutes till we start the public hearing and before we start in the new business, and I have a prepared statement that I'd like to read on behalf of the borough. On behalf of council and the citizens of Pottstown, I want to thank all of our firefighters, and especially our volunteers, who put in countless hours of training, achieving numerous certifications, and you do this for one reason only: true dedication to firefighting and keeping our town and surrounding communities safe. And you do this without reservation. I am truly sorry to all of you that you guys are caught in the middle of this consolidation process. We are once again at another what-if moment as we vote this evening on having our solicitor draft an update to the fire service agreement with the fire companies in Pottstown. I researched back through my files and have two fire studies done for the borough, or there were two fire studies done, I should say, for the borough. The first one is in 1986-87. There was a update or a draft that was drawn up for us by our fire chief from 1990 to 2000, and then there was another one August of 2009. So any of council would like to take these and read these, there's some good information in there that I will be passing on to whoever wants those. But there is, of these studies, I'm going to read just one passage from them because there's a common theme throughout all of these studies. In the past 15 years, and I'm quoting, the Pottstown Fire Department has gone through a number of changes. Not all of these changes have been for the betterment of the community or the fire department. In the 1986 study that was done, recommendations were based on information gathered and the standards for effective and efficient fire department operations at that time. The only major thing that has changed about the standards of operation from then to now is they have become more demanding. Fire departments and local governments are being held more accountable for the level and diversity of these services provided by the fire department. The Pottstown Fire Department is rapidly reaching a crossroad in its future. Decisions made today will have a far-reaching effect on how fire protection and other related emergency services are provided to this community in the future. That excerpt was from 2001, yet here we are 14 years later, still discussing the future of the Pottstown Fire Company. I realize change is sometimes slow, but 14 years plus is ridiculous. Discussions have continued and stalled, and council decided for the betterment of our community, according to the numerous studies that were done, to hire facilitator Dave Woglam, who became the borough's representative, to move this process forward. The meetings, according to our consultant, have been trying at best, heated arguments to a point of near violence. With the Phillies asking the same question time after time, why does the borough want to have the fire companies consolidate, even though a position paper which included, but not limited to, some of the two fire study recommendations was given to all the fire companies early on in the meetings. But it didn't matter to the Phillies organization what was given to them or how good the reasons were for consolidation. They were not going to agree to this idea. And they, the Phillies representatives, walked out by their choice. The other companies nor the borough forced them to leave. It was their and only their decision. Once again, the theme carried through from the studies is that change is needed for sustainability. We as a borough are working on a sustainability study with the county on all aspects of our borough so future generations' needs will be met and not compromised. Even the Phillies attorney, Mr. Breidenbach, stated, the current structure of the fire departments can't be sustainable. But why change it now? I ask, isn't 14 years plus enough time to realize that change is needed? We as a council took action to safeguard the future of our community, which we, our elected officials, are sworn to do, to protect the safety, health, and welfare of our community and citizens. If your roof is leaking, you don't wait till the ceiling falls in before you replace your roof shingles. You do it when you see the roof is not meeting the safety standards of protecting your family and your assets. It is a shame that the Phillies Fire Company have made the decision to withdraw from these consolidations, but once again, it was solely their decision to do this. I would, however, at this time ask for them to reconsider their position and rejoin the talks of consolidation. The other three companies have agreed that change is needed and are continuing to proceed with the consolidation, and have assured us that the needs of fire safety in our town will be met. With all of that being stated, I'm asking the council to vote in favor of having our solicitor move forward with drafting a new fire service agreement. The final decision for this agreement will not be made until the fire ordinance is ready for approval and a resolution naming the new fire company as a fire service provider to the borough and the fire service agreements are signed. This will more than likely take at least 1 month or more, but we need to vote in favor at least of moving this forward with this vote. Show support towards the efforts of the Fire Company Consolidation Committee. And I thank you.
Your statement is incorrect.
You had public comment. You're out of order, sir. You can discuss this with me after the meeting. Okay, we are now up to the public hearing.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Troney. I'm going to convene a public hearing that's required anytime a municipality amends its zoning ordinance. In this case, the subject matter of the public hearing are changes to the borough's parking ordinance within its zoning. In this case, the ordinance changes have come about through the recommendation of the ad hoc zoning ordinance review committee. The purpose of the hearing is to take public comment, and very briefly, there are changes to the proposed parking ordinance as it relates to residential parking requirements. Essentially, the ordinance, if enacted by the borough, would basically increase the required off-street parking requirements for all residential uses. Presently, those requirements range from anywhere from 1 space to 2 off-street parking spaces. The ordinance uniformly would require 2 off-street parking spaces for all residential uses. In addition, presently the ordinance has some provisions whereby on-street parking can be counted toward off-street parking requirements. The ordinance would strengthen that language and clarify in what circumstances that could be done. In addition, there would be limitations on how many on-street parking spaces could be counted for off-street parking requirements. There is also a provision in the new ordinance that would limit or decrease the number of parking spaces in a parking lot that would have to be sized for compact cars. The committee felt that the requirement in the present ordinance was that there were too many spaces that would allow compact spaces as opposed to full-size spaces. Those are pretty much the changes to the ordinance. For purposes of this hearing, there are requirements in the planning code and the borough zoning ordinance that need to be satisfied. First, I would note that the hearing notice for this hearing this evening was advertised in the Mercury on January 11th and January 18th. In addition, notice of this hearing and the ordinance changes were provided to the Montgomery County Planning Commission as well as the local Planning Commission through cover letter of December 22nd, 2014. The borough did receive a letter from the Montgomery County Planning Commission, who is advisory to this borough council. A letter was dated January 12, 2015. I understand the Planning Commission has not formally met, although you should have received a letter from Mr. Weand, who's the chairman of the Planning Commission. I received a copy of that letter supporting the changes on February 5th. At this point, I would open up the floor to public comment. Again, it's public comment directed towards the change in the zoning ordinance, specifically the changes to the parking, which I outlined. If there's anyone that would like to comment to Borough Council, I'd ask that you state your name and address, and we'll be happy to take your comment. Any public comment with respect to the proposed ordinance changes for parking? Mr. President, I don't see any public comment. I would note for the record that the hearing was held and concluded, no public comment. Before we move on to the agenda and close the hearing, is there any comment from any members of the committee that reviewed this ordinance, or would you rather wait till when we take action on the ordinance later in the agenda? No comment? Okay, at this point, the public hearing will be closed. We'll return to the regular meeting. Turn it back to you, Mr. President.
Okay, starting off with a new business, motion to adopt an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance, section 600 and 601, dealing with parking.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Any comments? I want to thank the committee for their hard work, and you're continuing with updating the zoning also?
Yes, yeah.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Letter B, I'm going to turn this over to the solicitor before I ask for a motion on this.
You'll recall, we did have an executive session at the end of Wednesday night's meeting to discuss this matter. It's appropriate to discuss an executive session because it's litigation and the borough is a party to the appeal. If council desires, I would recommend we have an executive session again to review this matter and be prepared to vote if you're required to do so at the end of the meeting. It's up to council though, unless you have an idea of exactly what you'd like to do on this issue.
This is your ward, Mr. Gary. Anything you would like to speak on this?
Well, after the presentation last week, as I indicated, I wanted to wait and see what I heard from the folks in the ward. And in that time, I have received several calls and emails, still folks requesting that council stick by its position to oppose. So I don't intend to make any recommendation that we change from our current one. I appreciate the work that Higher Ground is trying to do. I mean, certainly, I don't think there's anyone on council that supports veterans more than I do, being a veteran myself. But you know, we have zoning ordinances in place for a reason. The current zoning ordinance establishes a maximum of 6 for this type of boarding home type of situation. You know, I hope that Higher Ground, if they are unsuccessful in getting their variance granted, are successful in housing veterans as they propose. But to go from 6 to 8 in the one building, and then from 8 to or from 6 to required to 13 in the other, an increase by more than double, I just think goes against the face of what the zoning ordinance is there for, regardless of the nature of the people living there. So, you know, I'm not inclined to ask council to take any action different than that which we've already done.
If it's a consensus of council, there is no action required tonight. The only way action would have been required if council would have decided to change its position from the opposition that it took last month. So if council is satisfied with Mr. Geary's summation of the matter, then there's no need for an executive session, and there will be no action taken by council this evening.
Okay. Letter C, motion to authorize the solicitor proceed with preparing and advertising amendments to the borough's fire department ordinances associated with the consolidation of the fire companies.
Moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion by council?
Yes, I have something. I'd like to explain why I'm voting no to the fire company consolidation amendment. It doesn't matter if one side defines this as a holdout and the other side as a shutout. The end result is the same. I believe that each of the 4 fire companies brings something unique in services, and that all 4 fire companies are needed to ensure the safety of our residents. I'm not convinced that community safety could be guaranteed without participation from all. The Phillies is a leader in volunteer recruitment and retainment, fundraising, community involvement, and fiscal responsibility. And I have just learned tonight that our very qualified fire chief of 55 years was not involved in the process and was not able to be a facilitator to bring the companies together. I have spoken to the Phillies Fire Company on several occasions, and as well again tonight, and they are open to discussing how we can reorganize and how it will save money. The trend across the country is shrinking volunteerism. The Phillies, however, have found a innovative and creative way to increase volunteerism through a reward point system that recognizes and rewards the value the volunteers have to offer. Do I believe that consolidation in some form or partnership of all companies is the future? Absolutely I do, but not like this.
I do understand and agree that consolidation is needed for long-term financial and uniform training, et cetera. There's some reasons why. But we're not reinventing the wheel here. This is being done all over the United States. At boroughs and it's just being done. I'm very disappointed in the way the negotiations are going so far, mainly with the way the Phillies are handling things. For lack of a better word, you know, the arrogance is there is just phenomenal. I got a call the other day. I have the name written here, but I'm deciding not to put the name out there. He called me, stated his case, and I asked him one question. Just one question I asked him. And instead of answering the question, he decided to throw a few insults at me. And namely, he insulted my intelligence, and he insulted my ability to think for myself. Okay. Then he proceeded to hang up on me. The arrogance is phenomenal. I had every intention of voting for this. But I do agree, and I do understand the historical importance of the Phillies. I understand that. I visited them a few times. There are some good guys in there, but there's a lot of guys, at least the ones, some that I've been dealt with. It's just arrogant. I'm telling you, it's phenomenal. I don't want to throw away that history. History is important, and I'm also going to vote no on that for today. Even though I know it's important and it's going to have to be done eventually. More negotiations have to be done, but the Phillies have to get involved. They need to stop the arrogance and get it done. That's what they need to do. Just stop it and get it done. So today I'm going to vote no, but I know it's needed in the future.
Any other comments?
No question. This motion is to authorize the solicitor to do the preparation work. It does not pass it.
No, it's going to ask that as well.
So this is not the end of, it's just a matter of going through the steps to prepare.
I'll have our solicitor address it.
Right.
Exactly what the motion is.
Okay.
If you're ready, the motion this evening is simply to allow the preparation and review of existing ordinances to amend. Obviously, council will need to, if it chooses to move ahead with the consolidation and act the ordinance, at some point when that is ready, a resolution would be prepared and approved by council if they move forward with the consolidation that would designate the new fire company as the firefighter service protector for the borough. And there would also need to be, as Mr. Taroni said, a fire service agreement in place with the new entity. So really, all you're doing tonight is moving the process one step forward. Final vote for council on all those things will need to occur, whether that be next month or the following month or the month after that. So that's where you are right now. It's up to council to decide how they want to proceed.
Any other questions? Okay, I'm going to ask for a roll call, please.
Vice President Gary?
Aye.
Counselor Kirkland?
No.
Counselor Miller?
No.
Counselor Croxall?
Aye. To the extent I would like to get more information. So yes.
Counselor Williams?
Aye.
President Taroni?
Yes.
Motion carries 4 ayes, 2 nays.
Okay, motion to adopt a resolution amending the fee schedule, revising fee for housing animals.
Move.
Second.
We moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Motion to adopt a resolution in support of establishing a funding formula for basic education in Pennsylvania.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Motion to adopt a resolution authorizing the destruction of certain municipal records pursuant to the Municipal Records Act and the Municipal Records Manual of December 16th, 2008.
Moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Motion to approve and authorize the Civil Service Commission to amend certain rules and testing regulations associated with the hiring of police officers.
So move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Motion to authorize a letter of intent to the Pottstown Area Health and Wellness Foundation associated with a grant for the park and site improvements of the native Indian Borough site memorial located at 374 Lawler Street.
Moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Motion to approve an application in Montgomery County Community Development Block Grant for the following project: roof repair for the Richard J. Ricketts Center Community Center.
Move.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Anything you want to add, Erica?
Oh, we had a walkthrough today, and it went well, so we're just preparing the scope at this point.
All right, any discussion by council? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Motion to reappoint Burke Myers to the Pottstown Downtown Improvement District Authority for a 5-year term to expire January 1, 2020.
Move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on this? Is the gentleman here?
No, he's working.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Motion to appoint Barry Beasley Jr. to the Pottstown Planning Commission for a 4-year term to expire February 1st, 2019.
Moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is Mr. Beasley here? There he is. Anything you want to say, or?
Just I look forward to the opportunity to serve, and I appreciate the nomination.
Thank you very much. Mr. Beasley has been coming to the meetings
Yes.
for the past year and a half, I guess, almost 2 years. So it's a good appointment. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Motion to authorize a letter of appreciation to the Pottstown Borough Authority for its allocation to the borough towards the new public works facility.
Moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Motion to approve the dates for the Pottstown Classic Car Club for the 2015 Nostalgia Nights as presented in the January 5th, 2015 memorandum, and to grant request to close High Street from York Street to Franklin Street and Hanover Street from King Street to Security Plaza, 4:30 p.m. to 9 p.m., subject to the approval of the police and fire departments and execution of a hold harmless agreement.
So move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Motion to grant the request of Tiberian 5K Race Committee to conduct its May 30th, 2015 event on the Circle of Progress and Glasgow Street, subject to approval of police and fire departments.
Moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Motion to grant the request of the Carousel at Pottstown to conduct its annual Carousel Flavor Event along with a beer wine garden on September 13, 2015, resulting in the closure of High Street between York and Hanover Street from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. and subject to approval of the police, fire departments, and the liquor control board.
Moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?